So go back to how hard it is to get a photograph of these things. People go out, put out a game cam, and then they'll set an apple up here. Come on now. If they bait their prey, then they know they're being baited. They see the cameras, they know the apple is not natural, and I mean, it's very easy to see that they are too intelligent to be stepping out in front of these game cams, unless you really have them hidden and set up something that may catch them off guard. I mean, that's really the only thing you're going to get is by accident.
Yeah.
So their behaviors are very human-like.
Yeah. I found it. Oh, there you go. Especially, man, you're doing it manually? Yeah.
They're very disciplined. They have to be. I mean, we have to start coming up with reasons why we don't have a body yet, why we haven't seen them more often. And so maybe they are as intelligent as we are starting to find out. And also that they bait their own prey. Did I tell you the story about the acorn meats?
Yeah, tell us that one.
Okay. This was only told to me by the homeowner. I did not see it myself. He actually found these pile of acorn meats, about 80 to 100 acorn meats, where something holed them and carried them to that location. There were no holes anywhere, and they were piled up in a pretty little Christmas tree pile on the one side of this creek. 2 weeks later, after these acorns were found, he had a hunter report to him. He sells hunting leases on his land. He had a hunter report to him, man, there was a huge ruckus down there on that bend in the creek, and I don't even think this hunter knew that that's where the acorns were. The homeowner was monitoring that spot. So he got in his Kawasaki mule, went down there, and this is what he told me. He said that there was a dead deer with like a hind quarter ripped off. And everyone who knows and follows research know that that's a typical Bigfoot kill. They'll take like a hind quarter or rip them open, take some liver and stuff, and leave most of the carcass. I mean, that's just the the way they. And he said across the creek was about a little 8-foot rise or 10-foot rise on the washed out creek. And he said as he went up there, and you could tell where something had kind of stayed in the brush up there, maybe launched itself off to get this deer. And if that's the case, they baited their own prey. We hear people say all the time that they build these little structures that look like blinds just off of these game trails so they can hide, jump out and snatch something off a game trail. That is not too far away from our behavior when we hunt. We bait our prey, put out salt licks, mineral blocks, and all these kind of things, plant clover, and we bait our own prey.
It's incredible, isn't it? Let's see if you can pull him off there.
You gonna kill him?
No.
No, you let him go?
Yeah.
How do you feel about catching your very first fish, Dylan?
Pretty awesome. I think Bigfoot likes fish. Have to roll it, because you're running out of space.
Let's talk a little bit about Bigfoot while we're talking about fish here.
What do you think about Bigfoot eating trout?
Probably.
Maybe. I think some of this fish could probably be useful for catching Bigfoot. Maybe seeing him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Drawing him in.
Yeah, so one morning I seen a deer run out across this hillside. So anyway, I was standing on the front porch and I was watching the deer because it's kind of in a hurry. Then once he got past this opening, then he zigzagged back up the hill and up to the top where the little old skid trail was at.
Yeah.
And he stood there looking back down the hill. And then Bigfoot ran out and was leaning up against some rocks right at the end of that opening, you know, the thing there. And so I was just standing watching him, and like he's had his arm up on the rocks, and his hair was about 6, 8, maybe 10 inches long, hanging off his arm, kind of real glistening in the morning sun. His reddish color is really beautiful.
How big was he? Was he big?
I'd say he's like, you know, tall, like probably 6, 7, 8 foot.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't really tell. I went up there and looked at the rocks, and you'd have to be pretty good size to touch the top of the rock.
Yeah.
So anyway, that deer just stood up there the whole time watching. And that guy's like he's listening, you know. And he was doing that for quite a while. And I was thinking, oh shit, I wanted to get a better look. So I reached inside the door where my binoculars were. And I got the wrong pair. I got my son's binoculars.
Right.
So I put them back, and they kind of clunked when I put them back against the wall, and I got the other pair. And he turned and looked right at me as soon as that made that noise.
Right.
And so then anyway, I was taking the binoculars up real slow to get him to my eye.
Right.
And I'm watching him. And of course he's watching me. I mean, it's kind of amazing. I was really wanting to see his face better.
Yeah.
And so when I went like this, the guy was gone.
Really?
Couldn't believe it. I stood there and watched for about 45 minutes, a long, long time. And the deer was still looking down the hill, so he didn't go up the hill.
Right.
Or the deer would have done that.
Right.
And that I didn't see him coming back across the opening. I never heard anything. And I went up and walked that little deer trail going across the side of the hill, and there was nothing. No, not even a deer track.
Is that the only encounter you've had?
I seen his track one time down at the Dutch Creek runs into the Trinity River. It's
Right.
about halfway between Douglas City and Junction City. And I went across the river. This was in the wintertime. And there's like a big sandy place about 12, 15 feet across.
Mm-hmm.
And right in the center of that was a footprint. And I kind of, wow. So I went over there, and there's a footprint about so big. It was a big old footprint.
Wow.
But it wasn't very wide. You wouldn't think, and maybe 6 inches.
Right.
I was saying, well, that's kind of weird for a big old footprint to be so narrow.
Yeah.
You know? But
That's amazing.
big old footprint.
Yeah.